But yeah, okay. So moving on from the Pokeballs, the soundtrack, the music.
I had
It,
many notes about this.
but
Your notes were epic.
It's the longest notes in the world of just 2 words. We won't say them, but it's another word for poo.
It's fecal matter.
Yes.
It is feces. Which some of it I agree with. It is pretty much trying to copy Breath of the Wild for its music.
Yep. And I already hated that.
I have a weird opinion on that because I actually kind of liked Breath of the Wild's music in a certain way, but for 2 franchises that have such iconic music, why I don't want silence. Like, there's a reason I like turn on a game that I've played a million hours of and throw on Spotify and turn off its soundtrack because I'm tired of hearing the soundtrack. These are 2 franchises, and honestly, specifically Pokemon, where I'm not going to get tired of it. I don't need to do something like that.
Yeah. They have some real bangers in the originals, and like, yeah, this one, it is literally like a little bit.
You can play 500 hours, and you can still listen to the game's soundtracks.
And I liked the whole ambient background Breath of the Wild approach, but again, like you say, in a series that's so iconic for its soundtrack. I mean, for Pokemon with the first generation, the final rival fight theme tune still resides in my head. I can still recall it whenever because it was such a good piece of music. To then go from that, even in Sword and Shield, the music was great in like battles and certain cities, and then you come to this, and again they've just taken everything away. It does have, when you get to the legendaries, the legendary battle theme is wicked, but outside of that, it's lacking. The boss themes are just not exciting enough to make up for the silence that leads up to them.
I don't know, but again, it kind of works having because you are venturing around. I guess this is a good question for you, Avalon, with the Monster Hunter games, because I know there's a big comparison. What's the music like with that? Is that similar, or is that good?
So they have an ambient soundtrack that's quite quiet, very natural, very like, oh, there's fireflies in the distance, until one of the large monsters enters the map or finds you. And then it just goes bonkers. But they also have the town, which has a distinct theme. And again, this game does have a town with a distinct theme, and I actually quite like that theme.
I do too.
It's not exciting enough to override the sheer silence through the game. You can come across, so James, you mentioned it earlier. You have the alpha Pokemon. Not all of them are bosses. Some of them are randomly in the area. They're not gold. They've just got red fiery eyes and stuff. And when you get spotted by them, you get the Pokemon's cry. It's loud, it's angry, but then there's no music change. It's just like, now you've got a scary Pokemon who's seen you. The end.
That's a missed opportunity.
That's a battle theme opportunity right there.
Yeah.
I do think they should have, with those type of Pokemon, as soon as they've done that cry, you should have been captured into a battle, because you have so many opportunities to sneak around and run away from them that it's so easy to avoid them.
The first section has a Ponyta in it that's level 40. Rapidash, sorry.
Yeah, Rapidash, yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you got caught in that without any way to escape from it in the early game, that'd be kind of ridiculous.
I guess so. But they
however,
don't really hunt you down. Sorry, Ty.
No, that's fine.
I'll go for it.
I was gonna say one thing specifically mentioning with like the battle, like the Pokemon cry, and then going into like some kind of epic battle music or something like that. That's even something that you could swell into. Like, speaking from like an audio engineering perspective, as I've done a little bit of that myself in the past, like you could have the Pokemon cry, and then it could go into like, it doesn't have to be like the Wonder Woman theme that gets played all the time in those DC movies, but just have some sort of theme, whether it's for a specific Pokemon type or for just in general, like that region or that section of the game. go into a battle theme for the noble Pokemon of that, and you could have the cry, and the cry is like almost like extra loud, and it like startles you, and then you go into this thing and it's chasing after you and just builds up the tension. I don't know, that's just
It
one
does a
thought.
little. It does a little bit of that. So the cry can knock you over. So it gives an opportunity to charge at you to start a fight. But yeah, I agree, totally agree with everything you said, and I wish that was a bit more in the game because, like I say, they don't really chase you much. But what I do like is a way to anger it without really approaching it is catching the same type Pokemon around them because it's kind of like a parent.
Mm.
So as long as
That
you're
makes sense.
capturing all the kids, it's like alerted and it comes for you that way. But other ways it doesn't really do it. Let's go through.
Well, I mean, that whole charging at you side of it does lead in quite nicely actually to one of the later points, and that's how the Pokemon interact with the player in this. And I've long in my past when I played Generation 1, I remember Lance telling his Dragonite, no, it's in Generation 2, Lance tells his Dragonite to use Hyper Beam on one of Team Rocket's grunts.
Yeah.
And just slams him out of the way. And
Yeah.
I've always wondered, why when I'm walking through wild grass do I get jumped by a Scyther? And then the Scyther's like, oh no, don't you fumble in your pockets and chuck out your Cyndaquil. That's fine. I'll wait for you. Whereas this game, it's like, no, the Pokemon sees you, it gets angry, and it starts attacking the player.
Yeah.
And I think that is a long overdue addition to the game. And then you have to manually go through your inventory, find your Pokemon, and then throw the Pokeball, which is awesome because you throw your own Pokeball, which it's just such a small thing. I never realized how much I wanted that until it got put into the game.
Yeah.
And it's awesome, but it kind of reopens that whole question when you look at the bad guys of why does like Giovanni not throw out like, I don't know, an Arcanine or something and just say, oh, look, that annoying person there's ruining my plans. Arcanine, burn him to a crisp.
Yeah.
And like in previous games, you can look past it because the Pokemon don't interact with humans directly. But in this game, because they do, I'm slaughtering the bad guys' teams. And I'm wondering, why is your Pokemon just killing me? Why is it still faffing around with my Pokemon?
And it works well for this whole region because, again, it's this game, because they haven't had that connection. I know this is a topic I want to bring up in what we want to see in the future and stuff, but this game is probably the closest to being in the actual TV show as well.
Yeah,
because like going off a thing you mentioned, Ty, about Pokemon Let's Go, it's got that feature that you can just throw a ball, catch a Pokemon without even a battle. If you surprise them, and it gives you like ratings, because sometimes they just go off and have a sleep. If you wait long enough, they can sleep, and that's like the easiest time to obviously capture them. Or you can throw some fruit, and that distracts them. They go over, they start eating it, and then you can catch them again from that as well.
It's like they finally took Pokemon Snap and Pokemon and put them together.
Yeah.
Even though they were on the N64. Like,
there's loads of good features, and they've even added gyro. It's not known, but you can go into the settings, and I think if you go motion on there, you can add gyro into it for you catching your Pokeball. Otherwise,
I'm so glad that I didn't know that. Otherwise, that would have been part of my rant.
What, having that in there?
Yeah, but it's a choice.
I like that as an
option. It's an option.
Choice is always good.
They finally actually added an option that you can either do it with or without, which is great.
Now, can you do it with both? Because that's one thing I always liked in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Splatoon. Except Splatoon 2 is awful, but that's a whole other rant.
But you can do both, and I think that's a great feature. And again, you feel like you're actually in the series because you're walking around, you're finding the wild Pokemon in the overworld. Like before you get these mount Pokemon, and I've seen so many people talk about it, it made them feel like the first series of Pokemon where Ash, Brock, and Misty would be traveling for a good 4 or 5, even 6 episodes at times till they get to the next town, of going into forests, climb mountains, all that type of stuff. You really get that feel. And it goes on to your point, Ty, that you mentioned earlier about, add co-op. How great would this be that you can go off with your friends and explore this world and all that type of stuff, It'd be fantastic.
So like that's kind of brings up a small little thing for like what I want to see later with the series, but just as a caveat, as a little small point, that's something that me and a bunch of people I play games with regularly, the game crew, so to speak, we've been looking for. It's like we want a game like Breath of the Wild, but co-op, and
Yeah.
Pokemon's the perfect game for that.
Yeah, it is because
I thought. Sorry, go on.
no, go for it.
I was gonna say, I thought like how they did Gigantamax raids in Sword and Shield.
Oh, God, I hate
I know
it.
that they're not the
Yes.
most loved feature, but when you think about how Monster Hunter is, you've got 4 weak, puny humans and then giant dragon monster going to eat you all up. I thought that these alpha Pokemon would be a wicked opportunity for you and a couple of mates, like just bump the alpha level Pokemon up based on how many people are in the lobby, and
Yeah.
then have it this co-op that is the perfect opportunity.
And there's only one person that can catch it, so you as a group choose who gets to catch it as well. Would have been quite
That
a
would be
cool
an interesting
feature.
twist. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
That would have ended friendships.
Oh, 100%. That'd be
But
some Mario Party level stuff.
But that's like World of Warcraft in a way, because like you'd be doing raids and there may
So-
be only one item, and you're
Have
fighting
either of you played World of Warcraft?
a
Yes.
tiny bit.
Too much.
Okay, good. Okay, I just want to say because I played, but I played a lot in the beginning, and that was kind of about it. Like vanilla to Wrath of the Lich King, and then periodically throughout. But the only game that's given me the same sense of adventure that game gave me back in the day has been Breath of the Wild. And I feel like that could have been this game, but I mean, I haven't played it personally, as mentioned before, but from seeing it and talking to other people, it's like, it's not quite there.
Yeah,
It's close. And it's a step towards that, but
I view it as a demo or a tech demo for the next game if they do it right. Because if they take all the features from this game and add all the proper stuff from Pokemon that we know with the gyms, the trainer battles, and all those type of things, if they can squish it all together and maybe make it semi-open world, or that you have a big area, you go to a town, and then it might open up a big area. Not so much like Sword and Shield, but I don't know, some way of balancing it. I think it's near to the Pokemon game that everyone has dreamed of since the first game.
There is a way they could do that, and it's very simple. And it goes back to Monster Hunter. So in some of the earlier Monster Hunter games, World had it as well, actually, thinking about it. You actually have multiple base camps. So basically, take World, for example, you start with access to the jungle and the cave area. And then your team set up a new base camp a little bit further along. And from that base camp, you can access new areas and so forth and so forth. And I think that would be, if you take, as much as it pains me to take this as a tech demo, because I think that gives Game Freak a little bit too much credit when they've got infinite money. But if you do view it as a tech demo, then yeah, you could have multiple base camps, which are your cities, that are then joined by routes, which are the open world sections of this game. Yeah. You could still have the loading screen system that you've got. You could still have everything instanced away from everything, and then just have cities dotted around. They don't have to be complex cities, because I think Jubilife City in this game really shows that you don't need a complex city to have a good city. So what they've done, Ty, in Jubilife is they've kind of got a row of shops and then your key quest building. And then behind that, they've got all of the NPC houses. And the key thing about all of the NPC houses is there's only like 12 or something, but every single one you can go in. And even though it's just a repeated interior with a few like asset changes, you can go in all of them. And that's all that they need to do for Sword and Shield, for example, where they've got all these houses with no doors. And I think if you don't need to be complex with your cities, you just need to put a little bit of realism into them. And I think if they had like a base camp, you could have a town that's like in the mountains. So it's only actually got 3 houses, a gym, and a Pokemon Center or something. That works. That's all you need. Just have a repeated house for those 3 houses.
And that's totally fine.
Yeah. And we've seen
We understand the Game Freak's going to be lazy.
Yeah. But we've seen games like Skyrim that have managed to do it quite well. And I know that's their bread and butter of having towns and cities. Like some towns you can just walk in, like Breath of the Wild, where there is no loading screen, but the big cities there is a door that or gate you have to open, and then there's a loading screen.
So
Again,
there's one thing to mention with that. I don't recall the person's name, but I believe it was 2 people in total that were responsible for the entire design of Skyrim's like map effectively, are 2 of a small subset of people in game development that understand how to do and create modular design that I just don't think Game Freak does know how to do. So for anyone that doesn't know, modular design is this process of basically creating puzzle pieces, but every piece can fit to everything else, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's why they were able to do that with Skyrim, because they just took people that had done that before in Oblivion and were very good at it and just kind of carried forward with it. And apparently it's a very, very difficult skill. I think it's easy. I have very limited hobbyist game design background over the last 10 or so years, but I've put together modular things with my buddy Justin, and it's not that crazy. I think they just need to reapproach how they design assets in a way that maybe they're not doing.
So this has now turned into Ty's CV for anyone watching who from Game Freak or any other game company that may want to employ him.
From what I've heard, Game Freak don't pay particularly well anyway, so I wouldn't get too excited.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, no, again, like it's stuff that could go forward into the future, but we've got this topic going on later on, but it's got to be smaller and smaller. But next really good point that good old Avalon has got in his essay is about the characters. And something just to mention about what Avalon was actually mentioning about the towns and the NPCs, that they all were quite unique, each of them. They all had like a quest for you, and each quest is a little bit different. It's not a copy and paste. A lot of them are quite different. There's a woman that wants you to get a Geodude, and it was pretty much just to have it sit on a pot so that it wouldn't move while it was boiling.
It was to pickle. It was to make pickles. She wanted a lid for her pot to make pickles. It was brilliant. Fantastic little quest. Some of the quests in this game are great. There's a quest where Bidoof are going around chewing the wood in the city. So you've got to go and catch a Bidoof so it can make friends with the Bidoof and tell them to stop chewing the wood. There's some really great little quests in this game.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing about I can't remember what it's called now. The balloon Pokemon, balloon ghost one.
Drifloon.
Yeah, it's quite an early quest, and it's like, the kids have gone off and playing with them, and those who know about the lore knows that they come to children, wrap their tentacles around their hands, and drift them off somewhere to kill them. Basically, is the Pokedex entry for these things. So them not knowing that this cute-looking Pokemon is playing with these kids, you know, as a Pokemon fan, you're like, crap, I'm gonna have to save these kids, or else they're gonna be, in the afterlife. But yeah, so all the NPCs have got like their own really cool characteristics. Like they all look similar because there's a slight copy and paste with a lot of them. But again, it's given them all a bit of a uniqueness. But they have
that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, but they have got a lot of really cool new design characters. A lot of them are kind of redesigns of future characters because they're like ancestors, and you get that even from the Pokemon that they use. But there is a couple of unique ones as well, because there's 2 different clans. There's like rival clans. There's a Pearl clan and Diamond clan, again reflecting Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. And I think they're not historically connected to anyone in the games. They look brand new to me. But there, like I said, there is a lot that are based off Team Plasma characters, gym leaders, which is quite cool because in the evil team, there's a gym leader that's based off the ice gym leader, but she's a villain in this, whilst in the future, her ancestors are goodie kind of thing, and yet there's goodies that turn into villains in the future and all that kind of stuff. I saw some negativity from Avalon when I was talking about designs.
Well, No, actually, I didn't
Oh, okay.
have any negativity about the actual designs of the characters. You know, like you say, there were some copy and pasted assets, but they at least switched the clothes. It's like
Yeah,
there's old lady model 1 and old lady model 2, but then what old lady model 1 is wearing could be from a list of things.
that
You
is her
know,
actual
which
name. Her
yeah,
parents didn't like her.
she's actually a child, but you know. But yeah, I mean the actual characters themselves, they were some really interesting ones. I really liked a Pokemon professor that was incompetent. You
Yes.
know, we've had
Yeah.
all of the Pokemon. We've had the super hyper intelligent ones to the newly learning ones in Sword and Shield, and then the cool ones in the Hawaii games that have gone out of my head, actually,
Oh
the
yeah,
name
yeah.
of them. Um,
The
but
topless one.
yeah, the topless one. But this one we've got a guy called Professor Laventon, and he knows some bits, but where Pokemon Discovery is so early in its lifespan, he just has these massive gaps in his knowledge, and he's so cute. And
Oh, he's
he's like,
great.
I could never catch a Pokemon myself, and he's always so sad about it. It's wicked. I love it.
Yeah, they've given some really good characteristics to them, and because I've got the male avatar, and I can't remember the girl's name, who's the other avatar you can choose.
It's a Kari, isn't it? I want to say.
Something like that. But she has the perfect meme face of like can't be bothered, always like, incredibly annoyed. There was a lot of memes that come up from this game. Like, this obviously
That
makes it
brings me
even
to a
better.
question for you both.
Yeah.
I saw a meme about, and I believe it is true, that the Pokeball does not shrink the Pokemon. The Pokemon possess the ability to alter their size to fit inside the Pokeball or become larger when they come out of it. I saw a meme about it. I saw some people talking about it on Reddit about how that's actually the case in the game. I'm not sure if you can confirm or deny
I don't
this.
recall anything like that. I recall they do specifically mention that Pokeballs are comfortable and Pokemon can sleep in them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the size stuff being discussed.
No, I
Apparently it
don't.
was a side conversation. It's not like on the main path from what I read.
I'll have to
I
look
don't
that
know.
up.
But
The so one of the major problems I found with this game is there's too much talking and yet there's no voice acting. So you're having to read so much stuff. It's particularly at the beginning. So at the beginning, it's very much a tutorial thing. Depending probably.
It's like, have you played Pokemon before? Yes, great. Let me tell you how to play Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
Exactly. So you got a good
I need
half an
Toad
hour.
in there.
Yeah, you got a good half an hour of learning how to catch it, which again kind of makes sense for this because it's a new style of catching. But the whole lore and all that type of stuff that they're trying to throw at you at the beginning, and it's just because they even have the little annoying like squiggle sound whenever the text is coming up as well. And the mouths are moving, but there's nothing coming out of it. But
I've got footage actually of an NPC that gives you a quest stood there going, well, I haven't even interacted with him. He just stood there talking.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Again, they had this thing over in Swords and Shield. Exactly, Ty. Just like that. But
Demonstrating for those that need it.
but again, like going back to Bethesda games, Skyrim, yeah, they may use only 20 actors in that game, but it still made the world feel like it was a world where everyone was talking. Even just walking by, there'd be conversations and stuff, and that sometimes triggered quests and stuff like that. Well, it gives you a dial of who's got quests, and you have to go to them to activate the quest. Even the quest thing, I'm not a big fan of. Like, it's just trying to figure out like the whole listing of which ones you can accomplish and the location, all that. I've barely done any quests. Like, just really not interested me.
I don't like that they're not. It doesn't tell you what area of the map the next step's in. Like, it doesn't say, oh, you need to go to this zone or anything like that. It doesn't sort by zone, which annoys me. But the thing that annoys me the most about them is that you can't have multiple quests selected and you can't have no quest selected. So you always have to have a quest selected. And if you complete the quest that's selected, it defaults back to the main quest. and then re-highlights that as your waypoint. And then if you've got like 5 quests in one zone, you have to go back into the menu, find the next quest in the list, select it, and then go through that. And it's not the sort of thing that you can avoid doing. In like every Pokemon game, there's shiny Pokemon in this, and there's a quest that highlights shiny Pokemon to you. He's like, "Oh, go and find this particular Pokemon. It looked funny, so obviously you know it's going to be a shiny." But if the quest isn't selected, it doesn't spawn. And if the quest is selected, you have a waypoint that when you get to the waypoint, it starts a random cutscene that doesn't start unless you have the quest selected.
Yeah.
And like I thought, you know, I'm not going to select that quest. I'm just going to let it sit there for a little bit. And I actually found 2 random wild shiny Pokemon before finding the quest shiny Pokemon, just because I never selected the quest.
That's so bad.
There is a lot of steps.
There's a
back.
blueprint from over 20 years ago.
But no, characters.
Yes.
The characters, the main characters all had, they could have had voice acting for the main characters. There wasn't that many of them.
Yeah.
But they all had unique personalities, I guess, which is nice.
Yeah.
There's one section of my notes that we'll have to avoid because of huge post-game spoilers. So don't read that. But you know, like the 2 clan leaders, it's clear that whoever did the character narrative and the dialogue had a strong preference for Diamond over Pearl, because Adamant is a pretty chill dude. Like he's your normal leader guy. I'm cool. I'm a top dog sort of person. And yeah, I've got some emotional vulnerability, but I'm a good person. And then you've got Irida, who is the leader of the Pearl clan. And oh my God, she is so whiny. You know, you first meet her and she moans about how she's tired all the time. And then the diamond guy tries to make a joke out of it and she gets all defensive. And then at a later point in the game, there's a so the wardens are the ones who come, they're like the gym leaders of this game, and they climb up to become the clan leaders eventually. And the Pearl clan leader was between her and this one other warden who you meet in like the 3rd zone. And you meet up with her, and the warden's like, "Great, we're going to sort this thing out. We're going to deal with this alpha Pokemon. We're going to be a great team." And she just turns out and goes, "Actually, you're not, until I've given you my information." And then after the battle, she's like, "I didn't need to give that information." I'm like, "No, you didn't, because we knew that information. Why are you here? Go away." She's just so incredibly unnecessarily frustrating. And I don't understand why there's such a disparity between her and the Diamond leader.
Yeah, there's a lot of barriers in this game, and I picked up quite early on where you had to go off and do the first noble Pokemon, which I got there, and then I had to do a battle, and then I had to go back, and then I had to battle someone else before I got to get in there. And it's like, why can't I just do this? Why are they talking? Why are they stopping me? I just want to battle the boss Pokemon.
So this is a trend that I've noticed in a lot of, not just Pokemon games, but a lot of JRPGs or Japanese developed games that are not action games. So basically anything that's not Platinum or Team Ninja. They love dialogue, and they love to pump dialogue in, which is great to give you characterizations and build up interesting characters and stuff. But they're very trepidatious of going the voice acting route. I don't know what it is. I guess it's a budgetary thing, most likely. But they're very trepidatious because they would have to record it in Japanese, and then also in English, and then also in Italian and German and French and Spanish. Like, pick a bunch of languages, probably also in Mandarin to some degree, and Cantonese. Like, I get it, but I mean, subtitles can and written text can do that, can suffice in some situations for that. But it really does add a lot to those characters if you're hearing things. It doesn't have to be everything, but it makes a really big disparity. As someone who's played a lot of both JRPGs, a handful of Pokemon games, and a lot of computer or Western developed RPGs as well. And I think my favorite would be to see more influence from the Western side trickle over. And in terms of the whiny one being the woman, I have a theory on that, and it's that Japan is basically 1950s America pushed forward with today's technology in terms of the overall culture and how women are viewed. But that's just from living with someone who lived in Japan. So what can I say?
I mean, there's a conversation there around Animal Crossing personalities as well. Like in that,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah.
That whole Japanese culture definitely exists.
Yeah, and I think it's just a disparity from other parts of the world, and I mean that's going to be the nature of it, and that's also part of the charm in some degrees to it. But there's certain things like over explaining, like I'm doing right now, so I'll shut up. That need to be cut out, and that's why I edit my videos.
Little insight of Ty's visual processing. But no, you're completely
God,
right.
I cut like 90%.
But no, you're completely right, because again, like there's so many JRPGs that just have them speak Japanese, and yet they have the subtitles, and that still has a massive impact.
That's fine.
I'd take that.
'cause-
I'd take
yeah,
that.
exactly. And this
I'd take them doing sim words or simish or whatever they call the sim language.
yeah, just gibberish,
just noise.
to an extent, though.
Gibberish that
Like,
kind of gives you an
An
way
inflection.
of identifying.
Yeah.
but can you imagine
Yeah.
if they all had Animal Crossing voices?
As long as it isn't Banjo-Kazooie, I'm fine. Animal Crossing is as close as I go to that. Banjo-Kazooie was like, I wanted to love that game, and just I rented it, and I just take this back to Blockbuster.
You just load that game out, so and start.
Oh, yeah.
That's enough of that.
That's enough. Going back to Mario.
So before we go on to what we want to look for in the future, again, Avalon's good old lecture, custom clothes. So you can customize your clothing. This has been a great feature since X and Y. I still don't know why they didn't do it earlier. But I've not been a big fan of the clothing, but that's probably because I still obviously like the modern clothes. This is hitting very heavily on ancient Japan, which is fair enough and completely understandable, because that is the era. So like my character is wearing the plasma outfit from the future. So I look like a spaceman, kind of.
That's awesome.
So I got some green robes very early on, and
of course you
therefore, of course, I wore the green robes, and it's actually been a really positive impact to the game, because you regularly meet up with the Pearl and Diamond clan leaders who wear blue and red. So then you've got blue, red, and green. It looks great. I love it. I worry that if I switch clothes, that dynamic's gonna fall apart.
I mean, you could always go with some yellow.
Oh yeah, you could. That's not even the Pokemon Yellow.
Oh man, I thought it was. I grabbed the yellow cartridge. It's back
He
there.
was so proud of that moment. It's like, boy, have I got a game for them to show? Like you clearly worked so hard and getting all these games because you had your.
I organized a little bit.
You're being professional, and yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens when you try to show off.
Donkey Kong Land for everyone. See, this is how much I love Pokemon. Donkey Kong's better.
Next time, he's just going to get a sticker and put it over the top.
I have it. It's in it. I can try and fish it out.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
Maybe it's in my yellow Game Boy where the screen falls off. I don't know.
But yes, so you can customize your clothes. You still have to purchase different colors. You can't just dye them, which I think was a great feature in Breath of the Wild, and I still think they should do that, because just so, yeah, it's a little bit hard with the virtual background. Yeah, kind of have to like wear it there.
My Pokemon Yellow.
Ah,
mine's
somewhere. Mine's somewhere. I don't know where mine is. But yes, so going on to one of the main topics that we want to talk about is, what are we looking forward with the game? Like, what is it that for the next series of games, what do we want to take from this, and what do we expand? But before that, is this a mainline series game, or is it a spin-off?
It's mainline. I'm sorry, it is.
Yeah.
If you're going to take the Aloha games as mainline, then this is a mainline game.
I argue it's not, on the basis that it reminds me so much of Pokemon Colosseum and Gale of Darkness, because it was a quite a heavy change in the style of games, because that was the first 3D series of games. They all had double battles. That was the only type of battles you could have. And it also included new Pokemon from the next gen as well.
Okay, so then my challenge to you would be, is Breath of the Wild a mainline Zelda?
I think those are two different things, but
Yeah.
I still agree with you that this is a mainline Pokemon game. I think this is where the mainline Pokemon games needed to go for years, and it's just finally caught up. I notoriously am a person, as I swear I previously mentioned, but I could not have because I'm half exhausted from working all day. I am someone who doesn't really like handheld gaming, and part of the reason I played so much Pokemon was because it came out when I was 10 years old. So it came out at a time where I was spending 4 hours a week in the backseat of my parents' car with a Game Boy or Game Gear. So that's great for that. And it came out at a time when the Super Game Boy existed and I wasn't super into PC gaming. So I never owned a Game Boy Advance. I jumped straight to a DS. And the DS I was only playing when I was stuck at college with friends doing like assignments and stuff like that, when we were waiting for printers or we were waiting for stuff to save or what have you not. So my bulk of experience is basically first gen, second gen, jump to Sword and Shield. I've dipped my toe in throughout, but none of them really caught me because they were on handheld. If I had a way of playing them on a TV, I would have, but I didn't because I didn't own a GameCube. So
yeah, and
I think that actually that's probably the best way to experience them, with the breaks. It's forcing you to take breaks from the series, and that probably avoided you getting hit by the stagnation that so many massive fans had. So, for example, I skipped
it definitely did
Black White 2, Sun Moon. I didn't touch Pokemon between that era up until Ultra Sun and Moon came out, because I'd burnt out on it, you know, and
did,
therefore
however,
I didn't hate them as much as everyone else seemed to.
It did cause another problem, though.
What was that?
I really, really, really have no attachment to most Pokemon now. So I have an attachment to the first two gens, and then the odd couple of them throughout, like the starters that I've experienced and gotten to play around with. And then the rest of them, I'm like, this is too many Pokemon. I don't want 900 Pokemon. Give me like 200 and like just do it a best of. I don't need that many options. I come from a very weird camp of that because I also am one of those people that want to get every single one, and I will not be satisfied until I get every single one. And it also is like just overwhelming, and I'm like, but I have a backlog of other games as well. And I don't know if that'll change as I slowly force myself to get through my backlog of games I own, including the Pokemon games I haven't gotten through all the way through. But it's just one of those things that like created an opposite problem where I have no attachment. I feel overwhelmed. I just want to play with the old ones and a couple new ones, like sprinkle in a handful of new ones. Great. I'm good. Like, give me a best of your new ideas. Don't give me another 100 of the bottom of the barrel.
This is my issue, because I am the one that has played every single game, and I have a game cartridge that has Pokemon from Game Boy Advance games that have traveled all the way into that game. I don't trust Pokemon Home because it is logs me out and crashed so many times that I'm not investing putting any of my Pokemon there, because these are Pokemon I have had since I was 12 years old. You know, they have come with me all these years. So like for the Sword and Shield situation where they don't have a national dex with all the Pokemon come back, I was on the boat of that's appalling because they have so much money. They have all the models and assets since X and Y because that's the same assets they're using. It can't be that hard. Just get enough company to do it.
I'll give you a caveat. I totally agree with you. There is no reason for them to not bring them all back beyond it's a lot of work to bring that many number of Pokemon over. But I mean, as you said, money, they have it. Why not?
Yeah.
I'll give you a caveat to that. What I would personally like to see if we're getting into that category. Are we getting into that category?
Let's do it. I've got an opinion on this as well, so let's go.
Okay, so just to clarify, for this game, I think that's fine. Don't worry about having all the Pokemon in it because it works for the setup that
we're also doing a specific region.
Yeah. For this region, for this game, it makes sense that you can't get everything. That's totally fine. I've got nothing against that. I still class it as a spin-off game, and my version of a mainline game is that you have 2 of the game. So there's always black and white. There's always
interesting idea
and all that. That's how my brain works. And I know, Avalon, you mentioned about like Breath of the Wild. Is that a mainline Zelda game? To me, yes, because it's a continuation of the story. It's within the timeline. I know this does the same because it's going to be semi-lore, and I know where you come from. If in the future they don't have 2 games, I'd be totally up for that because I hate the whole idea of having to buy 2 copies or trade with a friend. I hated that idea since Go. So, that's fine. If they go down that route, then I would class it as like a mainline. But I view it on the basis of I've played Colosseum and Gale of Darkness. It's within that generation. It's got some of the new Pokemon for the next gen in it, but it was just the one game. It could interact with the other ones, but it was still that one game. And again, I still think of it as a tech demo, this one. So that's kind of my argument on that side.
Now, question: do you consider Pokemon Yellow a spinoff?
That is not a spin-off on the basis that they answered that in what's one? Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, that they're all different dimensions. So every single game is its own alternate universe.
Of like the same time period.
Yeah.
Okay. So like blue and red, for example, are the same time period, and it's theoretically the same player character, but in alternate universes.
Exactly.
Which is why there's Ponyta or Growlithe.
Exactly. So
there's some serious multiverse madness going on there.
Oh yeah, there is massively.
To their advantage. Yeah.
That's why in Ruby in the original Ruby and Sapphire, there's no Mega Pokemon, but in Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby, there's Mega Pokemon. Because certain events have happened that occurred to create megas in that universe, but there isn't in another universe. So each game cartridge is different.
So of course the English series are on the worst timeline where Dynamax exist, yeah?
Yeah.
Good old Brits, we always get the best tail end of...
hey, we got a cup of tea Pokemon. We can't moan.
That has the worst ability ever. I was so disappointed with that, but yes, we did, and we also got a top hat.
Hey, at least you got a Pokemon game. As far as I'm aware, there hasn't been any based on Canada.
You could have so many, like it could be very much.
You could
like
have geese, and meese or mooses, and then you could have more geese. Oh, beavers, yeah, beavers.
Oh yeah, a ice hockey beaver. There we go. That's like the mascot legendary.
It's true.
It slaps with its tail.
Yeah.
Sorry, we really hit the stereotypes here. So
and then get a polar bear in there somewhere. That's on our money. And then the queen. We can get the queen in on there because we're still under that umbrella of the Commonwealth.
Why did you have a queen Pokemon, or even like the head of what's it, the Champions League and stuff like that? Why was it not the queen? There's been so many great memes of the queen being the final boss.
And I think this whole section could be an outtake right now of just like
I'll keep
what we wish existed.
This is quality gold. Anyway, before, is there any other statements we want to make before we go on?
I just want to weigh in on the whole Dexit thing because you two had very opposite views in the Ty, you like to be closed and concise, and James, you like to be open. But for me, I understand the upset that players get. See, I'm quite lucky. My favorite Pokemon is Umbreon. It's no secret. And Umbreon is a very popular Pokemon. Everyone loves Umbreon. It's never not going to be in a game. However, if my favorite Pokemon was like, I don't know, Carnivine, since that's everywhere in Arceus for some bizarre reason, I don't know why, it's a crap Pokemon. But if it's your favorite Pokemon, it's not in a lot of games because they've Dexited it. So I
Gee, I wonder
personally
what my
think,
favorite Pokemon is.
oh, never guess. Is it?
who's pretty much in everything as well.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
Dexit thing, I'm fine that you can't capture them. I think
Should be
again,
able to bring them in.
yes, as long as you can bring them
Yeah.
into the game in the future from transfers, because
And
they've
that's
been doing
where
it.
I think the split point should be. I think a lot of longtime fans say that 200 was like the ideal, like gold, silver was the ideal number of Pokemon in a game, like 200, 250.
Yeah.
So why not have a game where you've got 150 old Pokemon and 100 new Pokemon, or however the balance works out.
Yeah.
And then you do your 8 gyms and your Elite Four or whatever it is in that game, and then other Pokemon start spawning in the wild. So if you've got a volcano, before you finish the Elite Four, you can only catch the Ponyta, and then you beat the Elite Four, and suddenly Arcanine's there. Great, then everyone's happy. Because post game you can get everything you want,
True.
but during the game it's still that limited group that you can go and catch them all and actually catch them all, and then in the game separate those lists.
I think X and Y
Or even
did
just
that.
have it as you can bring them in. So like even at the beginning, like, all right, you got your starter. You can bring in any Pokemon from any Pokemon game, but you can only capture those 200 from this game.
Yeah.
However, I do have wild ideas for what I would like to see from Pokemon in the future.